So it was the game of the weekend and one of the biggest games in Liverpool's season, a season that is just going from strength to strength. This is probably the highest quality title race ever. And we could have a runners-up spot where the team that's finished second is on 97 plus points. That's how ridiculous this whole thing is. So I can't even imagine what it's like to be one of the fans in the middle of it, like the person I'm about to speak to right now, Paul Machin, who joins me right now. I was at Anfield yesterday at that game. I mean, I want to talk about destiny and fate and all those things, but let's just concentrate on the game first, mate. Talk me through the game. Go for it. What happened?
Yeah, Liverpool were a bit poo. No, I thought we were okay. You know, we were decent enough in the first half. We had a little flurry in the middle of that after we scored the goal where Spurs couldn't handle us, and we didn't make it two. And I think if we had, I think we could have kicked on there. It could have been one of those games instead. But no, inevitably, this is a thing, and this remains true in football at every single level, is that when you leave it at one goal, and it's only at one goal, then, you know, all it takes is a moment of brilliance or a moment of abject stupidity or anywhere in between, and you're in trouble again. And the difference between this Liverpool side, because I've seen that happen to Liverpool for God knows how many. You know, look, we've been waiting 29 years for a title. I've seen it in all kinds of different situations. I've seen the good Liverpool sides do it. I've seen bad Liverpool sides do it. The difference between this and most of the sides that I've seen is a level of fighting spirit and a level of quality around the pitch that we just haven't had previously, which means that, whether you want to call it a never say die attitude or the ability to make your own luck, we've got it. Whatever that is, whatever that X factor is that we've been missing for so long, it seems that we've got it. And at the minute, that X factor at the weekend certainly was goalkeepers basically throwing the ball into their own net.
Well, Alisson gave it a go as well, though, didn't he?
Well, yeah, but it's a wonderful skill to have, James. I just wish we'd tried it.
Yeah, true, yeah. It's the last thing on the list, though, isn't it? Once you've tried everything else.
Yeah, when you eliminate all likely possibilities, you know what I mean? We go to Occam's razor here. This is what we should have been doing the whole time.
I think the thing with Liverpool as well is that there's almost you feel more comfortable at times, I would guess, watching Liverpool and expecting them to win games because of how good you've been at the back. But so the analogy that pops up in my head is that player that all other football fans go, you know, on your team and says, "Oh, he's really good," and you go, "No, he's not really good." You just see him the odd time he's really good. With Liverpool last season, I think they were that kind of player where they were so electric at some points that everyone just expected them to be electric all the time. When the truth is, actually, you're much better off having a steady 8.5 out of 10 all the time. And that's what you've got this season. And I think the feelings around the performances recently and the difficulty, it's because of that. It's because you're not as hectic as you've been in previous seasons. And that Spurs game yesterday was a great example in comparison to the season before, where it was madness and you kind of ran out of gas in the last 10 minutes, really, apart from Mo Salah's an incredible goal. This year, and time again, you see it every time in the recent games when we've been watching Liverpool on the kickoff, they come up with that stat of the most goals in the last 10 minutes. And Liverpool are doing it time and time again. But it doesn't make it any easier for you. But that's a big thing this year, isn't it? It's a lot more. I mean, conservative's maybe the word, but it's just very, very professional how you're playing, isn't it?
Look, last year, people remember last year more fondly, and this is amongst Liverpool fans, by the way, more fondly than this year. So people are judging. People are going, well, Mo Salah's not scoring as many goals. Well, so what?
Well, Mane's scoring more, though.
Right, so. Exactly, but it's like, what do you want? I know people want it all, inevitably. We want to have our cake and we want to eat it. So we want Liverpool to having had like a 7-point potential, whatever it was. It's been that long, I've forgotten, but loads of people haven't. Whatever Liverpool's lead was at the top of the league, people want that without realising that in seasons you just lose games. You have to lose games of football. Even like, you know, that otherwise the Arsenal Invincibles thing wouldn't be a thing. You know what I mean? Like someone else would have done it in the time period between you know then and now. So, but people look back at it and go, "Oh, we were scoring more goals. We're doing this." Yeah, but that's because we had those standout results. We scored 7 against Maribor and 7 against Moscow. We were putting 4s and 5s, passing 5 against Porto away from home. We're not going to do that again. We've got them away in a few weeks' time in the Champions League. We won't beat them 5-0 away from home again. We just won't. But I feel more confident, and as you say, rightly so, Liverpool are a much better rounded entity. You can. I think if you want to win the league by being the team that we were last season, you need too many other things to go in your favour. You need other teams to implode around you. Liverpool haven't got the choice for that this season. If Liverpool want to win the league this year, they've got to be perfect, because Man City, this is Liverpool's best ever points tally at this stage of the season, James, in 126 years of football. This team has won 18 league titles and all the other bits and pieces, which is great, but it means we've never been as good as this Manchester City side are effectively. So that's the context of it, and we are a much more rounded entity. We're a much more balanced. We're much more calm. We're much cooler, and look, ultimately, most of that is down to the brilliance of Virgil van Dijk and Alisson.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Van Dijk for a second, and it all comes down to that one moment, and you see it so rarely, especially with the top teams, for there just to be one guy there. It was mad when Sissoko kind of went through alongside Son, and you could see what Van Dijk was trying to do the whole time. But it was a proper moment, that, wasn't it? I think that happens in seasons. You look at different little moments along the way, and if you can get there, if you can win that league, already he's had an incredible season. But that moment in itself, and how smart and how impressive he was in that moment, will be a huge part of the story for years to come, don't you think?
Absolutely, and it's how you judge football, is how you know you've got a player. I remember when we signed Javier Mascherano years back, and he'd been really disappointing by his own high standards at West Ham, and we got him. We weren't sure. I mean, we got to the European Cup final against Milan, and I remember watching him track back and put a tackle in on Kaka, and I was like, yeah, that's how good he is. And the Van Dijk thing, because you're dead right, we were talking about this on our Final Word show on Redmen today, and saying, that moment had the Steven Gerrard slip about it, like where if you blow the title challenge or whatever, you look back at this moment where Van Dijk's in the 1-on-1, and what happens if he falls over, or his position and he just fractionally one way or the other, and he gets absolutely skinned. Now, probably not as harsh a situation, of course, because look, he's one man defending two. He's not meant to come out on top in that situation, but that was the moment. Liverpool were going for it. We put all our attackers up there. We were going gung-ho to try and get the win, and they counter-attacked. And if we'd crumbled then, that you could have held that up, you could have wrapped a bow around that and gone, that's when Liverpool decided they didn't want to be champions, or that's when it all fell apart, and that's when Spurs enacted all these things, yada, yada, yada. And, fans of other clubs have got their gift for the next 5 years that they want to use every time you try to have a recent debate on social media. Virgil van Dijk, that's the level of his quality. Is I've seen some people saying, people are over-egging it or whatever. I can't disagree more. To be able to, Liverpool defenders, and not, this is why Virgil van Dijk wears so much money. Modern defenders can't defend in space. They struggle with it in one-on-one situations, because defenders either want to be cool, calm and composed, which means they're not up for the fight, they just love throwing themselves rashly into things, or they have two extremes. You're either too calm, so you want to play the ball, so you haven't got the fight, or you've got too much fight and no intelligence. Virgil van Dijk traverses that, like the gap between there perfectly, and that it should be rightly held up, because that was a tipping point for our season, and he's almost, Sissoko being a bit
very
helped.
Ultimately,
but the situation was what it was, and it became the situation that it was because of
look, the bottom line is belief's a huge part of it, and I was saying on the kickoff yesterday, I'd been watching this thing with Ian Wright talking to Gary Neville, and what he was saying was when Arsenal beat Man United in a game in 97-98, they came off the pitch and there's a sort of, they didn't even need to really say anything. There's a sort of a nodding amongst them of like, hang on a minute, we've got something here. And I think for Liverpool, with what's been going on in terms of, the conversation again and again about can they handle it? No one's really talking about can Man City handle all these different competitions, but can Liverpool handle it because of how long it's been? That's why that goal, regardless of how it comes, is just ginormous for Liverpool now, because after every game of football, you then start looking at it a different way, depending on the result. And the only thing that mattered in that game is getting through it and getting the 3 points. And for you to get the goal, to get the win, and now when you look at the fixtures afterwards, for me, that game is just absolutely ginormous for Liverpool fans and for Liverpool players to feel like, yeah, maybe. Like, it's a dangerous thing to feel about destiny or it being your year of fate and all those things, because you don't know until it happens. But that was a massive, massive moment for Liverpool to win that game, because you now look at the fixtures now and it's Chelsea. Then after that, you've got a massive, massive chance. The belief levels have gone through the roof, don't you think?
Absolutely, and look, the fate thing's fair. We do it because we're football fans and we've got to believe in a higher power.
That's all we got.
Imagine this situation. If anyone, you can understand it, and anyone watching at home can understand it. Imagine putting your entire happiness in the hands of 11 fellas running around kicking a ball. Imagine doing that. It's madness, isn't it? So you've got to believe. So you've got to believe that they're being guided. The whole thing's being guided by a higher power at times and what have you. And look, the problem we've had with this, James, is that the last two times that Liverpool have come close to title, it's felt like it was destiny. It felt like it was predetermined. And the 13-14 was one as well, because we had the Hillsborough inquest came out around that time.
And the Man City game.
Like a watershed moment for the city, and all those kind of things. Like, and I'm sure as because we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of Hillsborough as well, I'm sure that will be a fact. I'm sure something like that will come into it, but it genuinely feels like Liverpool are not doing this because, and we were having the luck, so you can't discount that, but it doesn't feel as though it feels like the luck that you get when you're really good. Like, we've seen Man United have this level of luck for this entire period that we've not had it. So I've watched big teams get over the line in mad ways to keep things going. They keep the momentum going somehow, by hook or by crook, they get across the line. So there'll be people from outside go, well, yeah, Liverpool have been dead lucky, sure, brilliant, I'm asked, but that's the thing, is that it's more, in 13-14 it was a side that was just built on like just pure swashbuckling madness. It never felt contained. It never felt controlled. It felt like a wildfire burning out of control. You were much as likely to kill yourself in it than you were to actually, to clear the path to the title. Whereas this does feel a bit more, although it's still a bit wild and there are wild moments around it, you put yourself in the position of maximum opportunity or whatever to capitalise on those things, because it wasn't like Lloris threw it in under no pressure. It was building. 15 minutes of a bit end to end, of course, in that time. But, they had the one where it drops off Firmino's legs and he scoops it up. We had Trent Alexander-Arnold had one tipped over the bar. We had Milner getting in from corners. It happened because we made Lloris feel uncomfortable enough to do something so catastrophically stupid as basically...
Yeah, I mean, God, it was terrible. How do you look, when we're talking about fate and destiny and everything, how do you look at that Chelsea fixture now?
It's got there's two fixtures left this season that have got a wonderful symbolism to them. It's Chelsea, absolutely, because as much as, we're talking about it, and I'd never really been privy to the whole Spursy thing. I didn't really get it. I didn't really understand it. But, if you're going to trust a team that's going to wilt a touch when you really could do with them wilting, it's going to be Spurs. And I mentioned when we were doing the analysis, it was, if that was Chelsea, I'd feel differently about it. I would trust Chelsea. That's it. Like, if that's an Eden Hazard or that's any one of Chelsea's players, like going back to like that was like, God, anyone, Kante, he's not famed for scoring loads of goals, but if one of their DMs cropped up into Sissoko situation, he'd probably do it, because they're a team of winners, even if it's not working for them. But yeah, we've got that, of course, and equally you've got Brendan Rodgers, Leicester, playing Man City, albeit at the Etihad, and there's just that thing of, the ghosts of 13-14 could well either come back to rear their very, very ugly heads as far as we're concerned, or they could come back to settle the score somehow. So no, it's... Yeah, I like stories.
Oh, mate, me too, man.
There's definitely a very interesting one.
That's it. And the final thing, I read this, I thought this was interesting. So no team has ever won 90 points and failed to win the Premier League, let alone reach the point that we're heading to at the moment, which is that in the final 6 games, that 97 points might not even be enough. And so I think when we're talking about luck, that's so unfair. Like, if there's that's so unfair, whoever loses out of the two of you, because that's, as I said right at the start, in terms of quality of a title race, this is it, isn't it? This is as high as it's ever been.
This is that's the context gets lost. I think a lot of our fans have lost this along the way, and that's sort of trying to reiterate that whole thing of It's our best ever season. This, we're talking about the teams that have had Kenny Dalglish and prime Steven Gerrard and some of the greatest footballers ever to grace the beautiful game. Teams that have won countless silverware along the way. They've never faced a team in any of those seasons. Liverpool wouldn't have won those trophies if they'd had this Man City side to play against. So we talk about Kenny Dalglish and we talk about all these heroes that we're now not, and everyone's arguments in football come down to, well, what's he won? Well, Liverpool, these Liverpool players are as good as, and if not better than some of the stuff we've had in all these glorious years. But as I say, they never had to play a Man City side better, and that's the galling thing about this, James, and the thing that's made this season really, really unenjoyable on the whole is you feel like a failure when you're not. To come second would be no disgrace, in this league, particularly if both teams were to win every game between now and the season. I'm sure people could go back and they could look at the points that Liverpool have dropped, and that's fair, to some extent. But equally, it's not, because you've almost had the best possible season that anyone can have. This is going to go down as one of the best. Again, if we win every game between now and the end of the season, that will be the best points tally Liverpool have ever had in the top flight campaign. And if you've not won the league there, then you've got to go and shrug your shoulder. You've got to let it go. But if we do something to conspire, and if there's another meme moment in there, and that's the thing that costs us, I don't know how I live.
Well, that's it. Well, you tweeted about saying that you haven't been enjoying it. You haven't been able to enjoy it so much, but you felt like you enjoyed the game. Up even before the goal in the last minute, which I'm sure you really enjoyed, which people can check out on your vlog. Do you think you'd be able to enjoy the last little bit then?
Yeah, you know what it was? The problem is there's been too much pressure heaped on inconsequential periods of the season. And I don't mean it, by that I mean the league is not won and lost in December. It can be lost, if you're miles off the pace in December, then you're miles off the pace, and your challenge is over. But the title challenge doesn't begin till now. We've come back from this last international break. We're in touch and distance of where we want to be. And that's the thing, because it's there, I can see the end, and I can see how good this side is, and I can see what they're capable of doing. I didn't see them wilt at 1-1. I saw them trying to go on, try and kick on and try and go on and win the game, and that's all you can ask for. When you watch your football team, the result is up in the air. What you can control as a player is the work rate and what you put in on the pitch. And if you've got quality on top of that, that helps as well. But if you go for the results, then you're going to end up very, very miserable in football. I realised with 15 minutes to go in that game, I was looking at it, and it was end to end, and Liverpool were attacking and they were attacking. I was like, this is the moment where, if we fall short here, I can look at it and go, look how good Spurs are. It's a really good side. You can lose this, and that's one of those things that happens in football. You have to kind of take that as it is. If we win this is going to be one of the best moments of my life. And it, again, it was just a zen-like calm fell over me, and I was like, well, you just got to enjoy it. I enjoyed it as a football fan as much as I enjoyed it as a Liverpool fan. I enjoyed it as a Liverpool fan more than anything in this world when the winning goal goes in. But I think that's the kind of way we've got to be now, is that we've played ourselves into this. We deserve to be where we are. If we fall short, we'll fall short, and that'll be a thing that's out of our hand. But I got to speak to Jurgen in pre-season and said that this is a point we had, is that you can. There's 20 teams in the league. You can't account for what they're doing. They've all got hopes and dreams and aspirations. So all of our talk of faith and all these things are going in our favour. I'm sure Man City have got them all as well, and ours will come into conflict with them. There's going to be one set of fans who are really devastated at the end of the season, and there's going to be one that are absolutely jubilant. It's football, isn't it? That's just all football is at the end of the day. So look, it's easy for me to say it now. I'm sure my stress level will kick in immensely in the coming weeks and what have you. But I said it all along. I thought Liverpool would win the league in pre-season. I put a few quid on a few bits and pieces along the way. Back then, I've had a few little wobbles, but I don't know that Liverpool will win the league. But I know they're capable of it, and that that helps.
I think that's a good point to end on. But it's I tell you what, there's still. You can pick apart those fixtures as much as you want. There's still going to be some madness along the way, and it's for everyone else, it's going to be wicked to watch. And it's good that it sounds like it'd be interesting to see what other Liverpool fans think. Let us know in the comments. But are you like Paul? Have you kind of come to terms with what could be or what will be, and just leaving it as that? Let us know in the comments below, mates. You've got a new channel. Tell everyone about it. It's your 16th channel. Is this the most special of all of them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's me and my good mate Chris Page starting our very own channel. It's not Liverpool related. Right. We have lives outside of Liverpool, just about thoughts, feelings, and opinions that don't stretch to 11 fellas in red. So yeah, a bit of more general football, a bit more general life. At the minute, it's on 6,500 subscribers. It's not had a single second of content go up. So thanks to everyone who subscribed. It's going to be mad. If anyone's ever enjoyed us on Ball Street or enjoyed us in the content that we've made in general, they'll know that we're not short of an opinion or two, and we're able to take the shackles off a little bit more on this channel, so yeah, it should be a very good one.
So everyone go subscribe to that channel, subscribe to Ball Street, let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and like the video. We'll see you soon.